We're up to bar 25 now, and it's a 32 bar song, so these are the last 4 bars. We could put 8 bars. We could put in a part marker here and type the rest of the chords of the song: F, C minor 7th, F 7th, B flat 6th, up to a B diminished, and these are the last chords of the song. And this is, if anyone's been timing it, but it's approximately 2 minutes to enter a song. And then it's more or less done at this point in terms of the chords of the song. We need to type in the title, which is Old Folks at Home. That can be titled. And then, of course, the song needs to be saved. We need to set a tempo for the song. Typically, you enter a tempo by this setting here. And you can click on these arrow keys to set the tempo, which is obviously beats per minute, and you can change it by 5. The square bracket keys, which are beside the P key on the keyboard, will also set it. A new way of setting it in version 7 is probably the most musical, which is the minus button here. Minus because you can use the minus key to be on your keypad, and you can just press it 4 times and it will set the tempo as you've clicked it in. So if you went 1, 2, 3, 4, it would set that to that tempo, which is 171. And if the equals does the exact same thing, except it does an additional step, which is playing the song. So here we're going to let's hear the song. So we'll press the equals key 4 times, and then we're going to hear it at this tempo. Okay, so that's the song Old Folks at Home. Let's record a melody to this song. So I happen to have a MIDI keyboard hooked up, and so I'm going to actually record the melody to the song in real time as it's playing. I'll record it for a full chorus, and so you can listen to the arrangement as the melody is being played. Afterwards, we'll look at some alternative ways of entering it if you don't have a MIDI keyboard, because we can just enter it from the screen. But the fastest way, if you have a MIDI keyboard hooked up and know how to play, the fastest way, of course, is just to play it in real time. So let's do that. I press R for record, or I could have pressed this button on the buttons, and we'll record from the start of the song, and then I'll press the record button. And here we go. We've done a full chorus here, so now of course we can press stop. It asks us if we want to keep the take. It also says, do you want to copy the first chorus to the whole song, which sounds like a good idea because the chorus repeats for 3 times. So we'll keep the take and we'll copy to the first song and for the whole song, and it asks us if we want to confirm that. Yes, we do. So now it's ready with the melody, and we can save this song. We can look at it in notation, and you'll see these buttons: bass, drums, piano, guitar, strings, melody, and solo. We're automatically viewing the melody track, and you can see the melody of the song is written. I used a lot of grace notes and this sort of thing, embellishments as we played it, so you'll see them displayed in notation. You can use this scroll bar to view all the bars that have been played, and you can see that this is bar 9 of chorus 2 of the song. So it's copied them to the entire song. So at this point, this song is completed in probably under 5 minutes. It has a title, key signature, tempo, etc. It's ready to be printed, and if we print, we can set some options which I'll discuss later, but the defaults look pretty good, which is that it'll just print the treble clef, it'll print chords, notes, bar numbers, and it'll have a title, and we could insert additional information such as the tempo of the song by pressing that button, editing this if we'd like, copyright symbol with our name typed in, and the composer Stephen Foster, etc. We won't be printing this right now, but if we did, we could set up our printer and make some various options in that regard. So we'll just close this down because we don't want to print it. We can save the song now, and we could save this as old demo, and there it is. We've now done the song, we've saved it. It's been added to our favorite song list as our most recent song, so we'll be able to load that in quite easily later on when we need to access it again. So let's play it now with this melody. Hear what it sounds like. So as the song is playing, you can do a lot of things. For example, at the top you'll notice buttons like bass, piano, drums. So first select one of the buttons, for example melody. Then any of the changes that apply here will apply to the melody track. For example, we can increase the volume of the melody, or we could change the panning for stereo systems. We could add a little reverb or chorus, and if we wanted to change the patch and we wanted to change the bank of the patch, we would use these particular settings. For the melody, we can change the patch of the melody, which is currently acoustic piano. Here's the 128 patches that we could change it to. For example, change to vibes or change to jazz guitar. So this is a button that is responsible for favorite patches, which you can set up. We've set them to some pretty reasonable defaults, and you can easily change patches using that setup. Or if you wanted, for example, to change the piano setting to Rhodes piano, you could click on the piano and press acoustic piano and just change. So now we have the chording going on piano as well. Up at the top you can also use the right mouse button key to click on the instrument names, and this will mute the instruments, and you can see that by the presence of the red color. And another right mouse button key will unmute them. So let's change our piano back to regular piano, and we can change the melody back. At the end of the song you'll notice that it loops back to the beginning. Let's have a closer look at the notation as the song plays. You'll see a loop screen button, which is very useful. Click the loop screen, and that screen will just loop indefinitely. So if you were trying to learn this melody, you could keep it looping and reduce the tempo, and just practice your sight reading. When you figure you've learned those 4 bars, you can just jump to the next section by pressing the cursor down key. The other button that you'll notice is the clean button. The clean button cleans up otherwise messy notation. If you have the clean button off, it will notate it more or less exactly how you played it. If you press the clean button, it will clean it up to make it look like something that would be easier to read while still preserving the exact timing that you've played. So let's take the loop screen off and increase the tempo back to where we had it. Now we can, as the song's playing, we can do other things. For example, put a harmony on the melody automatically. So to do that, obviously it's the melody part we're doing it on, and these buttons are the harmony buttons. So if we press the melody, we'll see we have no harmony selected right now, but we can select any harmony we want. So super sax sounds interesting, so let's try that. So harmony is now being played on the piano, and it's actually a 5-part harmony with 4 different notes and a doubled melody, so a total of 5 notes. You'll see occasionally there will be, the notes will be done in red, and that indicates a passing harmony, which is off the chord. Of interest to people who understand harmony. So it's very easy to change your harmonies, and the fastest way is probably to press the favorite harmonies button, which is some of the harmonies that you may have loaded in recently. For example, Super Brass Harmony or George Shearing Quintet. Now we're hearing that harmony being played by 3 different instruments. All these harmonies you can define yourself, by the way. We supply 100 harmonies with the program. You're now hearing the famous shearing sound, which is piano with 4-part close voicing, melody doubled by vibes, and the melody also doubled by a jazz guitar an octave below. This is another harmony that you could choose, big band brass. So this is an interesting harmony. We'll have to wait till it loops so we can hear the melody, but now you're going to hear a big band brass harmony. Let's see if we can press the hold button. If we press the hold button, we can get the harmony stopped if the melody was continuing at that point. But you can see there's a total of 5 notes in this harmony, and they're all different notes. So there's typically an extended note, as is done in a true 5-part harmony. So if we want to get rid of the harmony now, we can just go back, and here we are. So that was a demonstration of how to enter a song in Band in a Box, including the chords, the melody, and then playing the song and selecting a harmony for it. Now we can go on and do some interesting things, which are new features found in version 7 of the program. For example, we can change the style to one of the styles that is on our list of favorites. The list of favorites is just a list of styles that we've loaded in recently. And let's change the style to a Wynton K style of piano, which is a jazz style of piano that's a little bit using outside voicings and this sort of thing. So if you wanted to hear what it sounds like, you can press play. Another way is to choose this option, which is Control G, play from current position. I prefer to just go Control G, and you'll get it starting right. So you can hear the arrangement now is much more of a jazz arrangement. Now let's see about this solo button. This is a feature in version 7 which is automatic soloing. So let's see how automatic it is. We'll press the solo button. You'll notice that it's automatically picked this soloist without us asking it to. This is because we have this auto suggest button clicked, and if we were unhappy with that suggestion, we could press the suggest button again, and it'll suggest somebody else. J Pass guitar, Wynton K piano, bebop piano. These are all ones that would be useful for us in our one. So we could keep choosing different ones, but let's choose the original one that it had for us, which is Freddie H of trumpet. You'll notice that these are set to solo over the entire song, but which is something that we like in this particular example. In a more real-world situation, given that the song has a melody already, you might say, I'd like it to be like a real jazz band where the melody is played in the first chorus and the last chorus and the solos are only in the middle. If that's the situation, you would press this button, which sets these things that will only solo in the middle section. If there's no melody in the first section, it will solo in them as well. But in this particular example, we want to solo throughout the whole song so you can really hear what the soloist sounds like. So it's simply a matter of pressing OK. Now it's going to generate a solo for you. We're going to mute the melody so we don't hear it. So you can see the pink So it's creating that solo on trumpet that you're hearing. You can see the pink color, which indicates the soloist part, which is right here, and it's on trumpet. So we can view this solo in notation. So you can see, hopefully you can hear that the solo is using a lot of features that are common in a real solo, which is leaving space and playing right over the changes. If you wanted to learn that phrase, loop the screen. Pick up your horn or your guitar and see if you can read along. And you can be learning some riffs and learning your sight reading. Now press the down arrow key and jump to the next part of the song. There's a hotkey for this loop screen, which is the num1 keypad. Okay, let's just press stop at this point to observe a feature that's present in Band in a Box version 7, which is we're in the key of F. So we would expect lots of flats in the key signature, but we'll notice that the this note, which is a D sharp, could have just as easily been written as an E flat. The point is, Band in a Box 7.0 has chord context sensitive enharmonics, a big long word which means that it looks at the chord symbol to determine what enharmonic to use, which is much more like how musicians do it. So for example, it doesn't write this as an E flat, even though E flat is close to the key of F. It writes it as a D sharp, which makes sense in the key of the B9th, which is an E scale. And here you can pretty much see that it's a simple B arpeggio, and that's much easier to read. And then we're back to a B flat, and it does the enharmonics based on that. In a B diminished here, it's written an A sharp note, which is right in the key of B, even though it could have written a B flat, which is in the key of the key. But you can also, if you wanted to do that feature even more, you can set this use chord scale for enharmonics, and that it'll do it for notes that aren't even chord tones. It will use the entire scale. Currently it's just doing this feature for things that are actual chord tones. Now we've paused this song, so let's let it continue. So hopefully the soloist sounds with a natural feel to you. It's taking ideas and developing them a little bit and playing them in phrases. It's playing a trumpet part, and it's using the exact range of a trumpet. And that's something that's all definable within the soloist, something we'll get into a little bit later in the video. So of course the soloist part works like any other part. You know, you can change the instrument to a guitar and that sort of thing. If you wanted to just show the regular screen, you can do that. The soloist has harmonies available, and rather than use up another 3 of the precious 16 MIDI channels, which we've almost used up entirely in Band in a Box, we've used 12 of them so far, we decided to let the soloist share the through channel when it comes to harmonies. So if you ever want a harmony on the soloist, you use the through settings. So we can do things like set this to big band brass harmony. So now we have an instant big band arrangement. You can program yourself these soloists, what instruments they should use. You can program them to change instruments with each chorus in a customized manner. You can decide what range assign a direct harmony to be used for this solo. Probably if you were defining the soloist to use this big brass harmony, you'd get it to use a little bit lower range. It's hitting some pretty high notes even for trumpet there. So I think that concludes our demonstration of how to enter a song in. If we of course have got a melody present in the song, we've got a solo present in the song. You can also view any of the other tracks like the bass, the drums, the piano. This particular style doesn't have guitar or strings, so you won't see anything there. When you now press save, though, you will see the melody track saved, and the solo track will also be saved. If you didn't want to particularly save the solo, because Banana Box will generate a completely different solo each time, of course you can erase that solo and then of course press save again, and it'll be saved with your melody. So then we've had a song added to your repertoire, and you can go ahead and make additional songs using a similar sort of strategy. Now let's continue with the song we've just put in called Old Folks at Home. Specifically, we've entered the song and recorded in the melody from a MIDI keyboard. Now let's do a few things like edit that melody and perhaps enter it in step time instead of recording it in on a melody. We can load the song by typing the name of it, Old Demo, which is right here. But a faster way is to use the Favorite Songs button, because it's the last song we've worked with, so there it is on our menu. So the song's right there. What we're going to be doing is working with the notation, so we press the notation button. And Control W is the hotkey for that if you need to get there by keystrokes. So now we can see the three modes of the notation. Here's the normal view of the notation, and you can see that here, and then this mode here has also note heads, but it's called editable notation because you can edit the notation, and you see these dotted lines indicate the various positions for the notes as they get inserted. The third mode is called staff roll, which is very similar to a piano roll. In this mode, the beat 1 is here, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, and here's the bar line for the next one, and the notes occur right exactly as they would appear on a piano roll. You can also see vertical lines and horizontal lines indicating the velocity of the note and the duration of the note. So let's do some simple edits on this melody that we've done. Just to refresh your memory, let's play the first 4 bars. Control G will play it right from the current bar. So let's decide that we're going to get rid of those that grace note, and there's a grace note here and a grace note here. So we need to delete this note. There's 2 ways to delete it. One would be to hold down the delete key and left mouse click on it. Another one would be just to edit it by putting your mouse pointer over it and pressing the right mouse button key. Here's the note, and it tells us information like that it was played at bar 1, beat 1, at tick 9, and there's 120 ticks in the beat. So it was played just slightly after the beat. It was an A flat note of a velocity of 98 and a duration of 23 of these ticks, so about a sixth of a beat. So that's definitely that grace note that we were working with. We're going to delete it. We could just as easily edit it to make the velocity greater. We could change its duration or change its starting time, but in this case we're just going to delete it, and you can see that it's gone. Now we want to move this note a little bit over so it doesn't start as late. To move it over, we could also right mouse click on it and maybe adjust the time, maybe put it at 0.9, but instead of doing it that way, let's press cancel and do it a more intuitive way, which is to left mouse click and hold it, and you can see the cursor shape changes and you can just drag it over, and the sound repeats as you drop that note where it should be. So now we've got this note, and we might want to change the duration of this note. So we can changing the duration or the velocity can be done using dragging as well. So but it's done with the right mouse key. So we click the right mouse button, hold it down, and drag the new duration that we want, and then let the mouse go. So now we've got a shorter note, and we could similarly drag the velocity of it upwards to change that note's velocity is now 73, and the duration has been changed as well. So in a similar manner, let's delete this A flat here by clicking on it and deleting it and moving this note here. And now we can leave it in this editable note in the staff roll mode, or change it to real notation, or change it to the editable notation. And let's just play it back by pressing Control G just to confirm. So now we've got rid of those grace notes. So this similar type of process can be done throughout, and as you can see, as you will see in the next demonstration, of course we can insert notes just by clicking the mouse wherever you want the note to be inserted. And so now we'll examine how to enter a notation onto a melody, the track, from scratch, meaning that we haven't recorded it in on a melody. We can work with the same song that we're familiar with, Old Folks at Home, and we need to get rid of the melody that's been recorded. So there's an easy command to this, which is melody kill entire melody, and we'll confirm that. So now there's no melody in the song, and we'll assume we don't have a MIDI keyboard or we don't play piano, but we just want to enter the melody. Here is the normal notation mode. That doesn't allow editing, so any kind of clicks you do with the mouse will have no effect. So instead we need to go to whichever mode we prefer, the editable notation mode, which when we click notes on it will have the notes show up as actual notes. I'll now delete that note so it won't be present in the example. Or the other mode is the staff roll mode, which the notes start right on these divisions as I described earlier. And in that example we have the advantage of seeing the note as an actual piano roll duration and a piano roll velocity. So either mode may be preferable to you. I'll start it off with this mode. Now you'll notice that duration is automatically assigned. Of course we can change it by the method of dragging with the right mouse, or using the right mouse to click like this to set it. But the point is, Band in a Box is automatically setting the duration. It starts out with a note by giving it a duration of a little bit under 2 bars, and the amount is actually can be set in here as the duration percentage, how close to the next note you want it. But it starts out giving you a duration of 2 bars, and if you insert notes it will shorten the duration of that previous note and leave the little space of 20% as we set in there. So the point of all this is that we want to be able to enter a melody with 1 mouse click per note, and because there's when entering notation you want to be able to do it as quickly as possible, and that's the point of Band in a Box. So let me delete these 2 notes and we'll start with the melody, and we'll see how we can go, and see if we can manage to do it in 1 click per note. So this song, Way Down Upon the Swanee River, is fairly straightforward. So we're going to click on now to do an F note. Now if you're wondering how I know that's an F note, number 1, the mouse pointer is on the F, and number 2, this area tells you what note I'm currently on. So if you look at it now, you'll see, yes, that an F5 will be entered. Now when I'm entering notes, I don't have to be precise as to this location. The reason is that this option called Snap to Grid Lines is set. That means that if I'm a little bit off, it's going to round it off and make sure that I'm on the closest line. In this case it's a quarter note. and you can override that if you feel you're entering notes and you want them to be between the lines. So we'll continue way down up. So you could be entering these notes, and here's another quarter note. So it does seem to be working out to one click per note, and yet you can see these durations are nicely not running into the next note. If you're wondering how it's going to look in notation, you press that button and you can see that the notation is looking pretty good. So if you wanted to hear that, just to confirm it, press Control G. Sounds pretty good, perhaps a little bit stiff due to its step time entry, but these are things that we'll deal with as we get along, because there's ways to improve that. So now we can, I'm not going to do the whole song in notation, but I'll just show you how we can do the next 4 bars pretty easily. So let's say we made a mistake on this note. You'll notice this mono check box. That's of significance. Let's say it wasn't checked and we entered a note here, then you'd have 2 notes. If the mono is checked, it'll realize that you're entering a melody and that all you really want is 1 note there. So if this F is wrong and we realize it should have been an A, we can just click on the A there. And if we're still unsure what note it was, we can click there, and that will actually change it right on the keyboard. That clicking a note there will insert this note right at this point, which happens to be the right location to click the note there. So there's the correct position for that one. So this note is in fact wrong. Now you can also drag the note down like that. So this is the first 8 bars of the song, and you can basically enter the entire song in this manner and get a melody in pretty easily. So let's play those first 8 bars. Okay, so here we would like, this came in a bit too early, so let's move it over to this 8th note here, so now it'll sound a little more natural. Now we can, it sounds pretty stiff. The reason it sounds stiff is because it's entered in step time, and these notes are entered perfectly on the beat. Right on tick 0, which turns out to be not how musicians play things. Typically they play things a little bit late, so meaning that they play it after the beat. So we can choose melody, humanize melody, and if we just choose this option here that we want to quantize to swing 8th notes, which indicates the feel of this, we can see that the tempo is 170. We're not changing the tempo here, but you can see that the lateness is currently 0, which means that it's analyzed the melody and determined that it's being played right on the beat, and it's also determined that the 8th notes are not spaced very well either. So the important point about this dialog box at this point, it can be used for a lot of things, but the important point here is that we're going to change the lateness from 0 to 16 ticks, and we're going to make the 8th notes a little more reasonable for jazz. So we can press the Quantize Now button. We don't need to undo what we've done, so we can press the Close button. And just to make sure that we've done something, we can right mouse button click and look at this note, and we'll see that it's now 16 ticks later. And the point of doing that is we'll press Control G. It sounds a little more human. So there you have that example. It still sounds a little bit robotic, and that's due to the nature of step time entry. But we can overcome that even without a MIDI keyboard by an interesting technique that involves using the wizard. This was we're going to erase the entire melody. The wizard feature is a feature that's used for something else usually, which means that you can play along on the QWERTY keyboard and it will hit intelligent notes as you play. In this situation, we'll use a wizard for something different. We're just going to be typing any of the wizard notes, maybe the N or the M key, but the point is we're going to record what the wizard does. The wizard's notes will be completely wrong, but the point is all we're doing is typing the notes in rhythm. One thing to do when we start this wizard record is to get rid of the notation window, because the notation window redraws would probably affect the timing. So it's good to have something that doesn't involve having to do redraws because of the delay that you'd get from your QWERTY typewriter keyboard. So let's see if we can get this old folks of home sounding more musical while still more or less entering it in step time without a keyboard. So we'll press record from the start of the song and just do the rhythm. So an added bonus was we have a harmony on here, which we could have turned off if we wanted to. So here we're going to keep the take, and you look on the melody and you'll see that the melody is, as we predicted, the notes are maybe somewhat intelligent notes, but the point is that these are all notes that need to be corrected. But we don't have to worry about where we're putting the notes, because the notes are put in at the correct location in time. Their duration is also correct because we just tap them in. The only thing that's wrong with them is their pitch. So we just need to correct them by dragging them down like this. So we can that one needs to be corrected again. You don't have to worry if you're dragging them up and down. It's not going to change the timing. And the nice thing is, this is a note that was entered 14 ticks late, and its duration is 59. So everything's more or less correct about it. So we just correct these notes. This one happens to be right, and then we go to the next one and correct all these notes. This needs to be corrected to an A. This needs to be corrected to an F. That was fun, and we've got now 8 bars entered in step time, which are probably going to sound fairly musical. We won't use a harmony for this example. There we go. So we could enter the whole song in a wizard fashion, just typing the rhythms and then fixing the notes, and getting a pretty natural sounding result. So to summarize, there's 3 ways of entering the melody: actually recording it from a MIDI keyboard, entering every note in step time with the timing, or using this third thing, which is using it in 2 steps with the wizard and then using the notation to correct the notes. Continuing with the song we did, the Old Folks at Home demo, we've got the original melody that we recorded in from the MIDI keyboard. We're going to show you how you can change styles at any bar. The easiest way to change styles is to use this button, which is the change style button. There's another way to do it with the F5 key, which is this option here, edit settings for current bar, and you can change style by picking a style in here. That'll change it at a current bar, but if you're planning a lot of style changes in a song, there's a faster way to do it, which is by pressing this button. When you press it, it will launch this dialog box that will stay open for the entire duration. So let's close it right now, because we want to set the main style of the song to Garner. And then we'll have Garner style last for the first 8 bars, and then right here we'll start with our style changes. That means that any style that we now load in will not be a style for this box, it'll be a style change. So we'll change this to Wynton Kelly style here, and then maybe here we'll want to change it to something like Django style. And point is, you'll see the little marker here that indicates, the red marker indicates that there's been a change of some information at this bar, and it's by pressing that F5 key that you can observe exactly what the style change that's going on there is. So this one will start off with Garner style. We could actually put, we could have put in a change of style at that point to Garner style, and then it will switch to the Wynton Kelly, and then it will switch to the Django style, and then we may as well have it switch here back to Garner style. So now we've done that for those bars, and then we can press close, and then when we press play you'll see the song compiling, and you'll see as it compiles you'll see these styles change. And now we'll hear it. That's Garner style playing. We're going to change to Wynton Kelly style for bar 9. Now we're going to get into Django style. So now we're in Garner style. It's doing B sub-style because it's the second time through the song, and our song settings have said that we'll allow to vary style in the middle choruses, which has the effect of doing the middle chorus always in B sub-style. So now we're also now we're in Django sub-style again. Of course, if you made a MIDI file, which is a very easy thing to do, you just press the MIDI file button. We could save this as a file on disk or save it to the clipboard. So if we save this as a file on disk, we can call it old demo, and it'll have all those style changes in it. One important point to note about the style changes is if you listen to this part of the song and by pressing Control G, listen for the drums. The drums really didn't start the new sub-style until bar 9. It was an abrupt change of style. If we put in a part marker here, you'll notice that the drums will change a bar early, which gives you a more natural transition. Now, let's just press play from here so you'll hear it from the beginning. You should hear a drum fill. That drum fill was from the new sub-style, which especially if you have a dramatic change from, say, swing to bossa nova, that changing a bar early will give you a much more subtle transition, which in general is desirable.